including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists.
These are posters of that new campaign with the words, "Defend the Homeland. Join ICE today."
Barack Obama never said, "I love all the people of our country because you're white." With me, they wanted me to say it. I said it. And I said it very clearly. I love all the people of our country because you're white.
Trump admin DHS account accused of referencing Avowed white supremacist. Left a Department of Homeland Security post on X as part of an ICE recruitment. The Trump administration has been accused of quoting a white supremacist who was backed by a neo-Nazi group as part of its social media campaign to recruit immigration enforcement agents. In a post shared to X on Monday, the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, said, "Which way, American man?" A quote appearing to reference Which Way, Western Man, a 1978 book by the avowed white supremacist William Gailey Simpson, who argued Hitler was right and Jews must be killed. The phrase has also been a part of online meme culture for years, typically stripped of its relation to the Simpson book. This administration has made a point of further normalizing explicit extremism, from dangerous conspiracy theories and rhetoric to the appointment of officials with deep extremist ties to dehumanizing policies.
We're back with Miles and Claire. Let me just share this reporting in the New York Times this week. ICE recruitment ad posted to pages for White House and DHS on Instagram, Facebook, and X reads, quote, "We'll have our home again. Join ice.gov." Times reports this. Administration social media posts echo white supremacist messaging. Quote, "We'll have our home again" is also the name of a song written by members of a self-described pro-white fraternal order that has been embraced by the Proud Boys and other white nationalist groups. Hundreds of explicitly neo-Nazi and white supremacist accounts have shared the song on Telegram, an encrypted messaging app, since 2020. The white supremacist who killed 3 black people at a Jacksonville, Florida dollar store in 2023 included lyrics from the song in his writing. So many echoes to good people on both sides, so many examples. Miles, of signs that your old boss, John Kelly, with his head in his hand at that public event where Donald Trump talked about good people on both sides in Charlottesville. And here we are covering something happening today, right now, in 2026, the integration of white supremacist messaging in the official taxpayer-funded government accounts for the White House and DHS.
Yeah, I've got to say, Nicole, I mean, I'm sitting here kind of on the edge of my seat because just hearing you go through that really pisses me off, because there's a lot of good people that work in that department and want to do the right thing. And they have been hijacked by these people who sound a lot more like wannabe school shooters than they do public servants. And I don't say that lightly. But you look at the rhetoric out of people who Donald Trump has appointed in his second term, you see folks who've offered praise for Adolf Hitler. You've seen folks who've said they're a little bit of a Nazi and who've been kept inside this administration, who've been kept in jobs carrying out the work of the American people. I don't think as taxpayers we want to fund wannabe Nazis to run these agencies. And you are seeing that filter out. But you're right, Nicole, in saying that this comes from the top. This isn't some coincidence. You cannot possibly be a Republican and say, this is just a couple of bad apples. This is a whole rotten tree. The whole tree is rotten. Yeah. From the core all the way out to every single one of those branches. And that tone is being set by the top. It started with Donald Trump saying Somalis were garbage in December and then sending 3,000 troops into that state.
Claire, I just want to inject a little bit of the public's reaction to all of this. In total, what the public has taken in has led to a 36% approval rating for ICE. 63% of Americans, based on the New York Times Siena polling, disapprove. 70% of independent voters disapprove of ICE. CBS News YouGov polling from January 14th to 16th, so before the killing of Alex Preddy, has 61% of voters saying that ICE is too tough and has gone too far. We haven't seen polling since that killing. Your thoughts on this very brazen public? I mean, I feel like we use words like dog whistle. They're totally inappropriate. This is state-sponsored messaging that aligns with, again, I'll quote the New York Times, quote, hundreds of explicitly neo-Nazi and white supremacist accounts have shared the song on Telegram, and it is the message being pushed out by the White House and DHS on Instagram.
Yeah, and that article, it was a real eye-opener for me because it doesn't just cite that one post. There is a number of things that the department has posted and has pushed out on social media that have echoes of a white nationalist point of view of this country. And by the way, we don't even have to look there. All we have to look and see is what they're doing. I think one of the most powerful images I've seen since this debacle began in Minneapolis was those policemen that stood up and called out them racially profiling members of their forces when they were off duty, that they were getting stopped and asked for identification because they didn't look white. These were police officers that were pointing this out. So if the message from the top is it's okay in America to stop anybody who's not white, anybody with an accent, anybody who's black or brown, and ask them for identification, where they're from, that's what they're doing. And that is not America. That is not what we do in this country. So, and clearly they're doing this. They're doing it every day, many times a day. And clearly they're doing this because the White House thinks it's fine. Stephen Miller embraces it. Kristi Noem thinks it's as American as apple pie. So not only are they not showing they don't support the amendments of the articles of the Constitution in detail, whether it's Article 1, Article 4, Article 2, Second Amendment, all of it, First Amendment, all of it. They are also profiling people because they're not white. And that is wrong and illegal and must stop.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the two sides of that coin, right, Miles? They are profiling people who are not white, including members of law enforcement. There's also a sadistic indifference to a physical assault, an act of political violence against Congresswoman Ilhan Omar last night, where Donald Trump essentially says, I didn't see that. I don't care about that.
Yeah, and his rhetoric about her specifically is the type of thing you worry about inspiring these people to come do things like this. I mean, that's another place it goes to the top, is Donald Trump is setting that example from the top. You saw it in the text messages of young conservatives around this country. I mean, you remember, Nicole, in the first Bush administration, when we go to things like CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, people were not necessarily nearly as extreme as the folks you're seeing go to CPAC now. You see Nick Fuentes followers that spew the language of Nazism and white supremacy that are now taking over the young conservative movement. And that's because the folks at the top are giving them the permission to do it.
With me, they wanted me to say it. I said it. And I said it very clearly. I love all the people of our country. Because you're white. I love you, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists.